Remember, regularized Zedaph is not real and can't hurt you. Welcome to the Hermitcraft Recap. My name is Pixelriffs, our writer is LoyXP, and while the Hermits know a thing or two about Minecraft, we figured we'd quiz them to figure out how much they know about the upcoming Village and Pillage update. If you missed that video yesterday, it's worth checking out, if only to see Python singing What Does the Fox Say, Zedaph saving himself the scaffolding, and Scar wistfully talking about his cat. The link will be in the iCards. What we know about 1.14 is that the current Hermitcraft world seems to be sticking around. Rather than resetting for Season 7, the Hermits seem quite happy to continue their current project and adapt to the changes.
And when the server updates to 1.14, there are going to be so many possibilities for new farms and projects.
And by adapt to the changes, we mean get in a bit of apocalypse prep. Time to AFK at all those iron farms before something happens to them. So as the Doomsday clock ticks ever closer to the 1.14th hour, let's take a look at all the events and mishaps that occurred on the Hermitcraft server this week. Starting with Azuma restocking Tango's iron shop for him, if only to clear up chest space for more iron to carry over to the update. And while he's at it, X flattens the spawn terrain for a bit of future-proofing. After all, once the drowned Colosseum stops bringing in ingots, you might as well turn the spawn chunks into a podcast. In exchange for his services, he unstocks a sizable part of Tech to the Skies supplies. But his prep work goes even further than that. In his infinite wisdom, Azuma builds a pumpkin and melon farm skyscraper that doesn't work. It's a design all the way from Hermitcraft Season 2, made obsolete by a bug preventing pumpkins from growing if they're underneath a full block. But since Village and Pillage is going to have that bug fixed, we'll know the update has happened when Azuma starts receiving a steady stream of squash. His land of scar scraping then becomes more decorative as Azuma and Python decide to work towards each other and decorate their respective sides of the riverbed, splitting the area down the middle.
And we discussed a couple of projects. One of them is going to be a bridge that goes across the middle here to divide up our two different sides. And now we can just take a moment here to gently glide across and look at all the detail. I love making these little beaches. I think they look fantastic.
The Hermitcraft stream day didn't leave the server untouched either. During it, X completes another couple of studio buildings for the ConCorp movie factory, which obviously should have an HRN railway going through it just to ensure you take frequent breaks to let the train noises pass every time you filmed a scene. On one end of that railway, False Symmetry has built a station for it, kind of a middle point between Movie Magic and the Pirate District. Fittingly, it was made to look like a pirate movie set, which, come to think of it, would just be a PC with 2 DVD drives. No, it's a Mr. Skullhead show starring Mr. Skullhead.
Being around it, but I feel like it looks quite unnatural, possibly because it has no grass in it yet.
The terraforming around brings her to the Dirty Deeds store and the purchase of some dirt to the errands assigned by our friendly ConCorp overlords. The try to scare someone deed is then instantly applied to Iskall, and it didn't specify that you have to succeed, while the change a sign in someone's base note is used on ConCorp themselves. Just gotta wait till Cubfan discovers the result.
I'm literally 5 years old. Literally 5 years old.
Which will take a while, given the sheer size of the corporation-occupied area. When updating a map of the server for one of his videos this week, Cub shows a map of ConCorp too, and makes it pretty clear why the Hermits won't be resetting for the update. There's so much room for activities.
There's our bed, there's our shulker boxes, and yeah, you can see a couple other projects we're working on recently, like the gate.
On the distant side of the green, Cub continues work on the treasure vault, the one behind a giant piston door. That mammoth of a contraption turns out to be but an entrance, and not really a security measure, as the button to activate it is not hidden and not really protected in any way. A much more harder crumb to crack is a cake-activated lock in the lounge that only reacts to the just desserts no matter how much you try to fake it.
And when I say it can only be opened by cake, I mean it can only be opened by cake. In fact, I think this is the first ever door that opens only via cake.
A cake-activated lock. This is so silly it almost makes you forget that their secret treasure vault has a visitor lounge. Hey, remember when we just left things in the middle of the outer end in an undisclosed location? That was fun. As he's all redstoned out, Cub drops jury-rigging their evoker onto Good Times with Scar, which is a nice brain exercise for the main genius of Cherry computers.
I'd like the redstone to not only activate all 8 beacons upon lever activation, but also would like the High Priest to have a glass pane removed from his head during this time to prevent intruders from entering ConCorp.
Through much dying and struggle, Scar does figure out a way to inconspicuously remove the glass pane from Mr. Wololo's head, and potentially lobotomize him right back once the security is not being threatened.
Can I give it a shot?
Hold on. Okay, do it.
Though Cub is impressed, he still dodges paying the lengthy bill by just showing Scar the cherry club card he earned forever ago. In his own time, Scar finishes the terraforming efforts for the island he once started on and starts populating the cliffside with ragtag houses meant to be a hideout for the sailors who steal stuff. It's so pretty and time-lapse worthy, we really recommend you check it out yourselves.
And that's what I'm trying to think about this area, is it's a little bit camouflage. There's not a big sign that's like, we're pirates here.
Zombie Cleo's method of populating her builds is just to build the people who live there. And a good captain should build her crew up when she's not too occupied by being in two places at once.
This is Horseface, because he's got the face of a horse and the body of a horse.
In the meantime, life hacks. Did you know that by tying pants around a fence post, you get a very realistic rope knot to hang your hammock on? Now you do.
Oh, I love this. This is the idea for the rope that I got from Crystalite, which, as you can see, is a fabulous idea. Make them stand visible. No, it looks like rope.
Yeah, as long as that book is on the server, False won't run out of clients for her new leather shop, which she only started because she randomly found her cow farm. Leather shop, because you can't dye iron. Find it in the dirt mall behind a giant cow face. Yes, you go in by being eaten. That's a small price to pay though, for quality hide. Speaking of hiding, Joe Hills decides discretion is the better part of valor and makes his exit from the Wither Fight arena, partly to reclaim his frames and partly to make sure it doesn't lag out the server for everyone else. But he's left behind a dear friend. His trident, lovingly renamed Mjolnir's Hammer to annoy all the pedants in the comments, was lost in the fight. So he returns to the underside of the Ministry of Truth and continues draining it with sponges, but more slowly this time, just in case a trident-chucking drowned happens to swim past. The surface level of the Ministry gets a tweak or two as well after he swings by his former Halloween store to grab the new armorstand book, adjusting some of the more neglected statues to his liking. He also puts the book to good use when dropping off a nether star at Iskel's base.
Da-da-da-da. That should be hard to miss, assuming that Iskel doesn't get lost in his own labyrinth.
We're not sure if Iskel needs it, considering he just installed 16 beacons to cover the area surrounding the lab with all the effects, but hey, another one won't hurt. Jevin throws 4 of his own into the fidget spinner, but none of them spread the being good with sponges effect. So the new room under the 4 main branches remains submerged for now, but just drained enough for it to be frustrating.
Oh my god, no matter what I do, it just keeps coming back.
This cube is where the actual storage will go once it's drained and the base is lit up enough to be livable. Also, Jevin's audience helped him discover how easy red dye is farmed using 2 tall flowers, and his heart grew 3 sizes that day.
Wow, thank you for that awesome tip, guys.
If your own heart needs something to warm it up, look no further than Doc M's Piston Bolt diorama, which now features a chibi Good Times with Scar taking a miniature axe to a full-size tree, and a chibi false symmetry toasting marshmallows around a fire. You might just about have time to say "aww" before the thing rockets you past the scenery on a piston-assisted minecart.
You know, there's tutorials for old campfires like that, and then you can light the armor stand on fire, have him standing in water and lava at the same time pretty much, and then it looks like a real cool campfire. We cannot do that in the nether here, so we needed to use some trickery to kind of simulate.
Doc's grand designs don't end there, as he's now considering connecting to all 4 diagonals in the Sky Hub and taking even more advanced railways out into the far reaches of the Nether. But he's got other matters to attend to as the plot thickens in the Jangler mystery, a mystery which we revealed the actual solution to last week, but who watches this show anyway? Both Doc and Ren have assumed the role of Watson to Grian's Sherlock Holmes, but unlike Watson, they're fine prank-secuting without a jury. Having followed the trail of cookies to the giant cookie in the sky, the Sherlock homies take the bait and immediately suspect Stress Monster is to blame. While Grian heads back to the office to review the evidence, Dr. Doctor and Scooby-Doo confront Stress Monster, who denies it by showing them a gold carrot and shooting Ren with a bow before they leave.
Doxon, let's get out of here, dude.
Yes.
We've definitely sniffed up the wrong tree.
Run from her, she might lead us in a trap.
It's a compelling argument. Out of character, Ren has been spending even more time around the ice train station, first by dressing it up as Thomas the Prank Engine, then helping Stress finish the supporting columns of the giant railway. His own projects are larger than life too, with the dragon skeleton now looking a bit less cow-like and stretching its wings out across the hills of the fantasy district.
And I gotta say, man, those wings are popping something fierce.
When she's not being visited by men in bowler hats shouting J'accuse, Stress herself has been restocking the ice shop now there's a giant AFK farm for the stuff, and giving some much needed attention to the interiors of her iceberg fort. The main hall gets a parquet floor, a redesigned staircase, and an elegant chandelier. One wall is left blank for some community-suggested pixel art, and the floors around the rest of the build start to come together as well. Still needs a bit more lighting, though.
Which I'm very, very, very happy about, and oh my... Oh! Ah, no!
TFC is restructuring too, after waking up one morning to find the Sahara building has appeared on his doorstep. He's fine with it, of course, but the tradesman's entrance to his vault needs adjusting to fit the new staircase. In the meantime, the luxury vault apartments expand into a sprawl of corridors for the Overseer's fictional family, and TFC gives us a new delightful nickname for Silverfish.
I do want to call them stone lice because, let's face it, they kind of are.
And on the subject of things that will keep you awake at night, here is Zedaph's face again. There's one more looking at you through the gaps in his nether hub stairway using parallax scrolling of sorts. Feel free to decide for yourselves which one is scarier. And yes, he does appear to have done this only for the stairway pun.
It still kind of works. Kinda. I mean, if I go like here, he loses his entire pupil. Ha! Yeah, now I'm not the only one that looks cross-eyed.
And somehow this isn't the only uncanny thing to happen on the server this week after this meeting Iskel had with Mumbo and Grian about signing away to Stress Monster the exclusive rights to sell packed ice and snow.
Oh, my days.
Awesome. And Grian?
Iskel!
Okay, lol.
We don't really know how to explain this one, so we'll let you guys figure it out for yourselves.
That clearly clears any confusion in the fact that I wouldn't have met up with the guys beforehand and discussed the idea of partnerships.
But as Iskel points out, customers can craft all the regular ice they're buying from Sahara into packed or blue ice anyway, so think of it as an ice kit, and the legalities can be ironed out later. Despite getting killed by a zombie during an overnight AFK, he still manages to get about 26 shulker boxes of ice out of the farm in one go, so there's enough spare to fill in some of the ocean at his base. In another meeting with a much more believable Mumbo and Grian, they decide to just let Grian take the lead building the rest of Sahara and have Iskel and Mumbo just do the hard labour, and after a mammoth time lapse, the rest of the build comes together.
And then when it comes to doing the redstone, you can just tell me what to do, and I'm gonna do all of the placing of the redstone and the observers and
no. Can you hear me? Still saying no, even though I'm getting further away. No.
Mumbo's contributions to Sahara, aside from just filling in the areas Grian points at with concrete, come in the form of a super smelter right next to his witch farm area, so he can AFK for witch drops while cooking up some other supplies. And it's a good thing too, because he wants to cover the entire witch farm sinkhole in glass to stop himself falling into lava when his elytra don't activate. So once it's done, he can drop onto the glass floor and die of fall damage instead.
Now that is going to need 26,000 blocks of glass. I did the calculation. I thought it would probably be smart to actually get a decent smelter set up before we take on that project.
And if his bed is broken, he can even grab a Digidie box at spawn, since that's where Grian is selling them. The thing is expensive, okay? So expensive, in fact, that Azuma felt a loan service was in order to help people pay for it. Welcome to late-stage capitalism. And that's just about it for this week's recap. Our writer is ZloyXP, and my name is Pixel Riffs. This week, we found a jungle in the sky and immediately tore it up for emerald ore. There's a link to that in the end screen theatre. Don't forget to leave a like while you're still here, and subscribe so you won't miss future recaps. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.